the Outdoor Journal.
Today on the Outdoor Journal, join Angelo Viola in Townsend, Montana, as he dons the hat and boots and goes on a working ranch vacation. Then, on Surviving the Outdoors, journey along with Reno Viola for a lesson on trail marking, leaving behind essential signs to help find your way out of the wild. And on Off the Beaten Path, Pete Bowman takes a mountain bike ride through the forests of tropical Costa Rica. All this and more coming up on the Outdoor Journal.
One thing that's evident here in the land of the big sky is that Montana puts on no airs. What you see is quite simply what you get, folks. And let me tell you, you get an eyeful. You see, here the cowboy is more than just a trend or a fancy label. It's a deeply rooted way of life that manifests itself in both its people and this magnificent land. I've always wondered why they called Montana Big Sky Country. Now I know. Today's program takes us about 40 miles southeast of Helena, the state capital, to a 700-cow, 15,000-acre vacation cattle ranch owned and operated by a fourth-generation Montanan family called the Flynns. Since the release of movies such as City Slickers and Lonesome Dove, the appeal of the West and horses and cattle and the Western lifestyle has spawned a new generation of ranching called dude or guest ranches. But make no mistake about it, that's not the topic for today's show. The Flynn Vacation Ranch is an honest-to-goodness 100-year-old working ranch. Here the mornings start early and the days end late. After getting acquainted with the Flynns over breakfast, Ted took me out to the corral to meet my new partner for the shoot, a spirited Appaloosa called Casey. Until it turns. Well, as you can very well imagine, when you've got 15,000 acres of range to deal with, nothing is close. So while we get ready for our half-hour drive to the beginning of the roundup, why don't you have a look at this week's Off the Beaten Path?
Hey folks, I'm going to be working today. I'm going to be working pretty hard, but fortunately, I'm going to be on my butt all day long. And the best part about it, I am going to be in the absolute most phenomenal scenery I've ever been in with my good buddy Freddie Singh from Costa Rica. I met him last time I was down here. Freddie runs a bike tour operation. What are we going to be into today, Freddie? What is this? This is beautiful.
This a regular cloud forest. Rain cloud forest. Not just a rainforest, it's a cloud forest.
Okay, I've never heard of a cloud forest.
At the altitude, we're about 350, 400 meters over sea level right now.
Oh.
So a cloud forest is important. There's so much on it that nobody knew exists.
What's the difference between a rainforest and a cloud forest?
The difference in plants, difference in trees, the height of the trees. As low as you go, the higher.
It is beautiful. It is absolutely phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Now, getting back to the machine today, folks, the biking industry has changed so much in the last 20 years. When I was a kid, I guess I had the old banana seat bike for a while, then I had the 10-speed, the gears on the side and whatnot. Technology, as in anything, is taking over. And included is the gear. It's like I got these little spandex shorty pants on. I got an elastic at the bottom, padding all through, no underwear. I have no underwear. You're not supposed to wear underwear in these babies.
I'm wearing it.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they've been telling me lies then, obviously.
I don't know,
on my
but
bike
I wear
shop.
it. I feel bad without them. It's strange.
And these shirts actually are really comfortable. They got ventilation in the back. There's a little pocket in the back.
Pocket's very important. You carry candy. We provide normally a kind of candy made out of sugar cane.
For energy, something like an energy. I carry
you
energy
need
bars,
it. You don't know
yeah.
how your system reacts when you roll in. You go biking for a long distance.
We'll need it today.
And you take some of that.
Be easy on me. I don't need a lot of that today. I want to be easy on myself. The gloves, heavy-duty padding in the gloves, taking shock and whatnot. Very comfortable again. If you hit the ground or whatnot, that strong leather is not going to rip them apart. The shoes. These shoes I got here, they're like a walking and a biking shoe. They got a little thing underneath. You can put a clamp on the top of them, but they're one of the most comfortable shoes I've ever taken off a rack, put on, and started to walk around in. We're going to be grabbing the bikes and walking them like we are right now.
Sure. Some areas you cannot ride on the bike because it's muddy or it's too hard.
Exactly. And the most important element, the old helmet gear.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And then they say when that helmet is cracked in the outside, it's done its job properly because it's all padded on the inside. The protection is actually the foam on the inside of these helmets. So I got a visor on mine. It's kind of a cool look, you know what I mean? Because I like to be a little cooler looking than you if I can. So I can take that off, but I think I'm going to keep it on.
I got less problems than you with the sun. I'm
Hey,
darker.
I hear you. Let's get going up this hill, buddy.
Yes,
Start our
sir.
trip. I can't think of any better place in the world to go on a mountain biking tour than Costa Rica. There's literally hundreds of miles of untouched trails begging for the traveling biker to ride. Every type of terrain is there for you. There's old dirt roads for amateurs like myself, making the start of my trek an easy one. There's grass-covered hillsides tailor-made for a bike tour like the one I'm on today. Incidentally, you don't even need to bring a bike with you. Freddie's Tour will supply one for you. And finally, there's the absolute heaviest of jungles with huge canopies of vegetation leaning over steep, rugged, tough-to-handle trails that'll test both the nerves and the ultimate strength of a mountain biker, as well as the equipment they're riding. It's almost a guarantee that you'll be stopping to check out some of the inhabitants of the rainforest. Anything from boot camp-style hard-working ants to the eerie stare of an inquisitive lizard. This place is heaven. Let's have a little break and a drink of water. Talk a little bit about these bikes, folks. Oh, first a drink. Like I said before, bikes have come a long ways in the past 20 or so years. Starting with these mountain bikes, the design is phenomenal on these things. Let's start with the handlebars. Remember the old 10-speed bikes where they had the round handlebars going underneath? First off, you'll notice these handlebars are straight across. Obviously, that's for a lot easier turning and whatnot, Freddie?
Give you better stability.
Exactly. The gear shifters now. Remember the gear shifters used to be on the side here? Boop, 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 like that. Freddie's got that type on the top of his bike now. But they've come this far now, you got a shifter on the handle now. Make it so easy to shift gears on the handle. You don't have to take your hands off the handlebars at all. The frame of these bikes, it's usually made of some type of light alloy. This is a Schwinn bike. Been around a long time. They make excellent bikes. It's not heavy at all. The gears, now this bike right here has 21 speeds. They got 3 sprockets on the front and they got 7 on the back. Tires, big knobby tires like on a dirt bike. That's obviously for good traction, good grip. Not slipping, I guess, down there. It's pretty hard not to slip with that stuff you just took me through, but, and the rims. This is a light alloy again. They're going very much towards as little weight as possible on these bikes. You see there's no fenders or whatnot. They want as little weight as possible. I'll tell you, they make a beauty little bike nowadays. Whew. Another drink, can we go?
Okay.
What do you think?
Sounds good.
When the time comes to buying a new bike, I'd highly recommend a professional bicycle shop. They have a trained staff ready to make any adjustments or fine-tuning that needs to be done, and they'll fit the bike to you properly, like these guys did for me before my trip.
I'm a lot taller. I'll just lift it right up. There you go.
Now, for the more experienced mountain biker, Costa Rica's definitely no slouch. Miles and miles of trails guaranteed to beat up both you and your bike. Whew. Oh, look at that, Freddie. That's what it's all about right there. That's our destination.
That's
the
the hotel. That's right there's the hotel, man.
And you know, there's a cold beer waiting for me right there. You gonna have one with me?
I'll go along with that.
Really? Swimming pool?
Swimming pool, jacuzzi, and everything.
This is the life. I've got scenery like this behind me. Awesome scenery. I got you as my tour guide. I got a cold beer waiting for me. What are we waiting for?
Let's go.
Let's get this. Whew.
Make sure we do this next year.
I worked hard today. I have to admit, I worked hard today.
Yeah.
And now for your travel tips. Passport.
My frequent flight destination is Costa Rica's capital city, San Jose. I flew from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to Miami, Florida. From Miami, I boarded a LAXA Airlines flight to San Jose. Located in Central America, Costa Rica is bordered by the Caribbean Sea, the Pacific Ocean, Nicaragua, and Panama. Visitors from Canada and the United States who plan to visit Costa Rica less than a month do not require any special vaccinations. The currency unit is the colon. Although Costa Rica is known internationally for its incredible deep-sea fishing for sailfish, marlin, tuna, and several other species, Costa Rica is an outdoor enthusiast paradise with a diversity of natural beauty, history, and culture. From volcanoes and rainforests to pristine beaches, this tropical wonder boasts breathtaking beauty, and biking sure is a great way of taking some of this in. In Costa Rica, the peak tourist season is Christmas through Easter, which corresponds to the dry season. You can almost depend on clear, sunny weather during this time. However, Mother Nature has been known to surface with the occasional unseasonal storm.
Coming up, a cattle roundup in Montana and survival tips on marking your trail. And now, back to the Outdoor Journal.
And this is really where you see the difference between guest ranches or dude ranches and a real working ranch. I've got three friends here with me. Big one in the middle here is going to be a big help, of course, Ted. What are we going to be doing?
Well, this morning we're going to round up a little bunch of cows that we've been fiddling with now for 3 weeks. This is kind of the tail end of them here. We've got them over in this close pasture here. We're going to round this bunch up, just take a few minutes. We're going to trail them down to a little set of corrals here, and then we're going to vaccinate them. The calves, we'll sort the cows off the calves, we'll vaccinate the calves, mother them back up, and then when we're done, we'll take them out of this pasture that we're in here now, and we'll trail them about 2 miles over to through another set of cows and to another pasture over here about 2 miles.
That's the basic difference. Is what we're going to be doing today is what you do for a living,
Sure.
and that is tend to the cattle, tend to the ranch, and you just don't get that experience. Although I've been on some dude ranches that have been an absolute blast, totally different than this, completely different.
I mean, we don't do anything here that we don't do in our normal everyday operation, and then that's kind of what it's designed to do.
Well, as they say, let's mosey on.
Okay, we'll mosey on.
Okay.
All right.
Although the ranch has all the modern conveniences a vacationer could ever ask for, once you hit the trails and leave those amenities behind, you get a real sense of what life was like back when the cattle were first introduced to this part of the country in the late 1800s. Taking care of livestock means more than just feeding. It also involves administering medicines like the vaccine that Ted's giving these young calves. It's all in a day's work. While the boys prepare these last few cows here that have got some eye problems, they're getting a special vaccine. Why don't we have a look at this week's Surviving the Outdoors, and then we'll catch up with the main drive that's going to take place over top of that ridge there and back to camp.
Hey, have you ever been lost in the bush? Well, every year, thousands of hikers and outdoors people actually do get lost. Not only can it become uncomfortable, but it can also be fatal. You know what I'm talking about. You're out there walking around, and all of a sudden, panic sets in, you don't know where you are. Moments later, you catch a glimpse of a familiar landmark, blood pressure goes back down to normal, you go on, never giving it a second thought. Well, the simple solution is to have a trail marking system. And today, that's exactly what we're going to show you. There are several items that hikers have used for years to help them get back to camp. Unfortunately, these methods aren't always dependable as navigational tools and sometimes hard to work with. And unless you know where your next reference point should be, you still may be lost. Then there's the environment to consider. Since no one ever takes these types of markers back out and disposes of them properly, what impact do they have on Mother Nature? Most plastics take hundreds of years to decompose, and until that happens, are just a piece of litter tied to a tree. You can use electronic devices like a GPS or Loran. The problem is they're usually fairly expensive and you need some training in order to use them effectively. That's where a system like this really shines. It's inexpensive and it's real easy to use. Just shake the bottle up and mark yourself a little trail that leads back to the truck. It's fluorescent, so you'll be able to see it each and every time, and it'll give you directions home. By using a water-based marking system like the day marker, you do absolutely no harm to Mother Nature. This stuff washes off within a few rainfalls, and you have no ugly or unnatural colors in our pristine and beautiful surroundings. It's non-toxic and is invisible to wildlife, which is sure to please even the most concerned of our environmentalists. This bright fluorescent marker can be seen from several hundred feet away and is a great way to find your trail and get back to home base. What I like to do is to paint or mark an arrow about eye level, and always mark the arrow in the direction that will take you home. That way, when I'm ready to go, there's no confusion of which way I should be going. I like to place these arrows within easy sight of each other, and that way, I'm guaranteed to never get lost. Now this looks like a great spot to start taking my shots. Let me mark this last tree. There we are. Now I can worry about composing a good shot rather than think about how I'm going to get back to the truck. Here we are. Works every time like a charm. Like I said, easy to understand and easy to use. Now, if I can only find my way back to the Photoshop, we'll get these pictures developed.
Coming up, the end of the trail in Montana as they bring the cows home. And now, back to the Outdoor Journal.
Now, rounding up these critters is one thing. Keeping them in one spot is another challenge altogether. These things go right through the barbed wire fence like we saw earlier on today.
They either jump over or go through. This could be cattle, it could be elk. More than likely elk. We got a lot of elk in these foothills here, and a lot of times, whereas the cattle will honor a fence, the elk don't. Barbed wire was invented in the 1860s, and it wasn't until 1904, 1905 that, matter of fact, this fence was built in 1904, 1905.
This wire was put in 1905.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's brittle and it's really bad, and that's why it
snaps.
That's why it breaks so easily. We'll just put a new piece in the middle of it here. Barbed wire is our primary range management tool.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's one of the many tools we have, but it's probably the most important, the primary range management tool, because you can take a section which is 640 acres, or you might have 10 sections in a pasture, and you can split it up into manageable units.
Sure.
You can run probably 3 to 5 times as many cattle as you could if you didn't have these management tools.
As we move along from pasture to pasture, picking up more and more cows, the job of keeping them together and moving in the right direction gets tougher and tougher. Now the dogs really start to earn their keep. These little guys are nothing short of incredible. Now I know where the term working like a dog comes from. And finally, the home stretch. Just a couple of more miles down this county road and we're back to the ranch. And not a blister too soon. I don't mind telling you folks, these cowboys beat me like a rented mule.
A tremendous amount of cattle came from Texas. Of course, this is right after the Civil War, and hundreds of thousands of cattle were trailed into Montana after that, from there until the 1880s. And that was the time of the open range. Mm-hmm. There were no fences. There wasn't anything to stop anyone from driving cattle or herding cattle or riding a horse from here all the way across the Dakotas.
Tell you, it's tough enough with the fences up. I can't imagine without.
Well, yeah.
That is wild.
Well, really. And so we had hundreds of thousands of head of cattle on the open ranges here on the eastern part of the state, everywhere in the state of Montana, until the winter of 1887. In 1887, they had a tremendously dry summer. The grass didn't grow. They had a tremendously tough winter. They got cold weather and snow, and then after the cold weather and snow, they had a Chinook, and the Chinook came in and softened that snow and made slush out of it, and then they got another hard freeze right on top of it. And when that happened, what little grass there was, the cattle couldn't paw down through it because it was frozen solid. And this went on all the way from October. It went all the way through April. Over 80% of the cattle in the state of Montana died. the open range cattlemen found that they could not raise cattle on the open range without interjecting management techniques to make them go. And that's where we get barbed wire. That's where we get the management systems, where we supplement feed in the wintertime. That's how we do it today. And it's all, that's where my ancestors came in. They came in the 1870s. They lived through the winter of 1887. They saw the changes that had to be made. And we're living proof that
It works.
it works.
And it's all part of the magic of, I guess they call this the big sky, huh?
They started putting up hay after the winter of 86 and 7, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I have to thank you both. It's been an incredible experience. Although, I can't remember the last time I thanked somebody for working me from morning until night. You know, folks, for most people, when you take the word vacation and put it in the same sentence as a working ranch, it's a bit of a contradiction of terms. But let me just tell you, if you're looking for the ultimate in experience and you want to challenge yourself to the limit, like I have here on this particular outing, you've got to get yourself out on the open range. Now, let me just warn you in advance, the days are long and hard, and I understand the nights aren't much better, boys.
Well, this is true, but you know, to get the flavor of the real West, what you got to do is you got to throw away this coffee.
You want me it's great coffee.
Oh no, throw it away. We got some stuff here that we'll straighten you around with, and
We may see you next week, folks. Take care.
Here.
Just don't throw it on the fire.
No, don't throw this on the fire. This won't work.